Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu, amma ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wa nazzalna alayka al-kitaba tibyanan likulli shay'in wa hudan wa rahmatan wa bushra lil muslimin. Sadaqallahul azim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Sanurihim ayatina fil afaki wa fi anfusihim hatta yatabayyana lahum annahu al-haq. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is in continuation of our intention to update you on a daily basis and present to you some reports from the global events which are of significance as far as Islamic eschatological analysis is concerned. Every time we may not give you this background. This is just the second talk in the series. It's not really a series, it's intended to be a daily session, a daily address. Let's see if we are able to keep up with it. Inshallah, we'll try to do so. So if you read the newspapers today, there are some reports which are important from an Islamic eschatological perspective. There are about 3 or 4 reports. So let us cover. The first, we would like to go back to yesterday's news, and which has been followed up again in today's news. It says the US says that the ISIS aggression against Yazidis, against the Yazidi community, a non-Muslim community, non-Muslim from an ISIS perspective. ISIS, as I had discussed yesterday, had given an ultimatum to this non-Muslim community to accept Islam or face death, and which we had refuted from the Quranic principles, which has absolutely nothing to do with Islamic principles or injunctions, and is in fact the reverse of what the Quran has to say in this matter. We had clarified those aspects yesterday. So today, basically what we want to add based on today's news is that the ploy is working wonderfully well from Zionist perspective. So now the US intervention is coming in to balance the ISIS and the Yazidi conflict. There's no conflict as such. It is a marked aggression from the ISIS against the Yazidi community. So the US says it may be nearing its end. In other ways, that it may not be allowed to continue its aggression against the Yazidi community. So now the US has armed the Yazidi community and the Kurdish people, supplied them with arms so that they are able to resist the oppression against the ISIS. This was exactly the ploy that we had anticipated. So initially, it was the Americans or the Israelis, or basically this trio, the British, the Americans, and the Israelis, mainly the Israelis, the Zionists, who had armed ISIS so as to create a chaos in the Middle East. And the same group is now arming the Yazidis so that they can resist this oppression. In the process, they will be successful in their objectives in eliminating a massive amount of population from the Middle Eastern region, thereby setting up the stage for their smooth progression in establishing their plan of setting up the greater Israel, which they have long cherished and dreamed. They have been dreaming of. So they're nearing this momentous day in which they will be able to actually set this up. What strategy they have adopted, making people, residents, fight one against the other, sometimes Muslims versus Muslims, sometimes Muslims versus non-Muslims, and so they can have their way at the end, that you people have not been able to manage yourselves, so we will now take care of the entire region, and we will control the region, and we will be able to manage you in a much better way. So that's the plan, and that's their strategy, and that's what it is. So as we have said, this is the first news. So what is the Islamic eschatological relationship or significance? It's as far as their plan to set up the greater Israel is concerned. So this is the ploy, and it's working. As of now, it's working for them. The second news is also very important. It says, we come back to Pakistan. We come to Pakistan now and focus on the internal instability in Pakistan. It seems to be a three-way conflict now. It may be multi-way, even more than three ways. But as of now, as far as the news, today's news is concerned, then it says the Sharif government, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif, and there's a tussle between him, and there are two groups which again they do not go very well with each other. They are also in opposition to each other, but now each of these groups are in opposition to the Pakistan government. Imran Khan, cricketer turned politician, may be good at heart and intention, but hardly has any understanding of the global conspiracy, the global strategies of the Zionists. So obviously he will not be able to devise any counter strategies for that. He does not have the understanding. He does not has the what it takes to tackle the whole situation. So as I said, we do not doubt his intention, but he hardly has the credibility which has to go along with it to have a proper response. And the third party to this internal chaos or confusion is a person by the name Tahirul Qadri, a self-proclaimed Sheikhul Islam, hardly a Sheikhul Islam, has a very shallow understanding. It seems more and more, it seems that he is a heavily funded Zionist agent. While Tahirul Qadri may or may not himself be aware that what he is doing is serving the Zionist agenda, may or may not. This is very difficult to answer for sure. It is very much possible that he is fully aware. It is also possible that he is being heavily funded and he keeps thinking that he is doing this, and he is doing certain things which he wants to do good for his country, Pakistan, but then unknowingly he is falling into the Zionist trap. So we are not going to that question in this address, in this session. We may want to do so in later sessions, but in this session that's not our intention. So whether he is aware, whether he is not aware, in either case he is being fully funded by the Zionists and he is serving as their agent, knowingly or unknowingly. But in any case, it is causing a tremendous harm to Islam. So there's a three-way chaos in Pakistan, and all this and whatever is to come in Pakistan is to add to the instability, the internal, to aid the internal instability, to disturb the stability of Pakistan. Why is Pakistan of such importance to them? It's simple, because Pakistan has got nuclear weapons, nuclear power. And as long as Pakistan has nuclear power, then it hurts Israel's interests of expanding and just having an easy run to establish the greater Israel. What it wants to do is what it has done with the other Muslim nations, so-called Muslim nations. It wants to dismantle Pakistan and split it up into sections, into smaller countries, so that they themselves keep on fighting and they are kept aloof to have or to develop a proper response to the overall scenario. The third news we read. So again, the second news was basically to serve Israel's and India's interest in splitting up Pakistan into smaller nation states, and it seems that they're on their way. As far as some people in Pakistan claiming that we'll break India into pieces, that's simply not possible. That's simply not going to happen. Rather, the reverse is what is going to take place. Whether we like it or we do not like it, that's what it seems to head towards. The third news is about the Israel-Palestine conflict. It's hardly a conflict. It's a one-way oppression by the Israelis against the Palestinians. About the truce being extended, this is just a mirage. There is no truce. And this has continued for a long time, and they are going to continue to do so till they achieve their mission of establishing Greater Israel. So this was the third news. So this truce is just a mirage, just no news sort of. And the fourth news, which is of significance eschatologically, is that some Russian aid to Ukraine, they want to stop that aid in reaching the people. So all those things which you have been reading about, even if you have not been reading about, you should better just read up the material, the news, the conflict about Crimea, Ukraine, Russia, and the stance of the various NATO allies and the stance of Russia. And anyway, so whatever has happened. So now Russia wants to send some aid, and that is being stopped. So this has always been their policy, not to allow any aid to reach war-affected people who need it most. That's how brutal they are. Even in Palestine, so many aid is being sent by so many nations, and they are being stopped. Nations or otherwise by independent organizations, and they are being stopped from not reaching the people who need it most, the war-affected people. So this shows the brutality, their oppressive mindset. So they're doing that with Russia as well. As far as Russia, whether Putin is a part of Rome or Magog, now this is a very complex scenario that is developing. It's very difficult to answer at this stage. If you're not understood, if you do not even know what is Rome or what is Magog, it will help you if you refer to some of Sheikh Imran Hussein's lectures and speeches on the subject about Rome and Magog and Russia. It will help you to gain insight or perspective into these issues. Otherwise, you'll hardly have any understanding what is being discussed about. So it is not possible in this daily short address to update you about everything. That's simply not possible due to the shortage of time, and we do not want to extend it and make it into hour-long session. Since we intend it to be a daily session, we want to keep it short, usually within 10 minutes. I know that some of the days it will exceed 10 minutes. It has already exceeded 10 minutes today. It just exceeded by a little bit more than 10 minutes yesterday. So for the background, you refer to, I think it's best to refer to Sheikh Imran Hussein's lectures and talks. There are a whole lot of lectures and talks, so I'll give you the specific ones which you need to refer to gain an insight and have a comprehensive knowledge on the subject. So specifically, you can look up about Rome, about Magog, and about Russia in his lectures. You can search it on his website as well as on his YouTube channel. Otherwise, if I do deliver lectures on Rome, Magog, Russia, I'll inform you and keep you updated about that as well. So as of now, please do refer to Sheikh Imran Hussein's lectures on these subjects so that when we speak about the updates, it will be easier for you to assimilate what is being discussed about. So we will actually try to develop this subject with the Russia will be taking part in the role of Rome or Magog, but that will be in some dedicated lecture later. So these were the four news. So the first was again related to the ISIS, which seems to be the main focus of the moment. Second, about the instability, deliberate instability, creating the instability in Pakistan by multiple forces. Third, we have the mirage, the news, the mirage about the truce, the so-called truce being extended between Israel and Palestine. There's no truce. And fourth, about the Russian aid to the war-affected people in Ukraine being stopped. So this is it. So I hope you are gaining into an insight into the Islamic eschatological perspectives. You're able to derive it from the news. Sooner rather than later, you will be able to assess and filter out the news from the whole lot of news that are published in the newspapers every day. You will be able to filter out as far as what news is related to Islamic eschatological analysis, Islamic eschatological analysis, and what is not. And whatever it is, we should give some focus, some attention to such news, because those are very important. We are living in the last stage. So that is very important for us to understand, and how the world, the global events that are unfolding in front of our very eyes, and where it is leading us to, these things are something which we always need to keep in mind. I think that's it for now. That's it for today. We'll return again inshallah tomorrow with more updates. By the way, we will be recording inshallah, at least we intend to record this address every day, but we may not be able to upload it every day. So at least every alternate day we will do so. We will try to upload it every day. If not, then at least every alternate day we can expect 2 videos covering both the days address. So that's it for now. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.